Hello class, and welcome to our Writing Logically, Thinking Critically reading review. Pick up where we left off last time, the idea of facts and inferences. Remember, an inference is an educated guess, if you would, a conclusion about the unknown based on what you know, and you have to have facts to support your inferences. All of the readings for this class are focused on getting you ready for exercise 2F. And exercise 2F asks you to consider the last lines of the story of an hour. Do you feel she died of J-O-Y? Now that J-O-Y could be literal, she's happy to see him. Ironic, it's the opposite of happy, the opposite of joy. Maybe even sarcastic. And possibly, is it a metaphorical joy? Is it something else? It's not literal, it's not ironic, it stands for something else, a metaphorical or symbolic joy. So you have multiple options as to how you want to analyze the story. There's no hidden meaning, as the myth of hidden meaning in reading and writing about literature discusses. So make sure that you have details, facts, examples, quotes from the story. Quote the actual words. Look at the examples she uses. Analyze the facts. Analyze her figures of speech. Analyze her descriptions to prove your point. Your point is to very simply answer that question, but it's not a very simple answer. So what are you going to do? You're going to focus on the elements of fiction: plot, character, setting, style, right? Tone, um, character, symbolism, all of these elements to better understand what you feel the point of the story is to respond to the question on 2F. So all of the reading, right, for this class is focusing on proving inferences, supporting inferences with facts. So please make sure when you're doing 2F, you write down multiple facts from the story. Take it sentence by sentence. It's a short story, paragraph by paragraph, and jot all those facts and ideas down, because this is going to be your first paper topic. And you want to make sure that you can write a 4-page essay and you're going to have enough facts and examples from the story to analyze to prove your point. Think about the elements of fiction. If I were you, I'd look at all of them. Maybe you have a body paragraph on plot, so jot down the facts about the plot. What happens? Maybe you have a body paragraph on character, right? All right. What does she say, think, feel? How does she change or develop? Jot down all those facts. Maybe you have a body paragraph on setting. When was it written? Where does it take place? Maybe you have, keep in mind that idea of milieu, M-I-L-I-E-U, milieu, the socio-economic and political setting. So it relates to culture. Definitely focus a paragraph on style, paragraph on symbolism. What are the symbols in the text? What are the words that she uses? What are the emotional associations of the words? What are the examples? Again, so go through the elements of fiction, and if I were you, I'd jot down facts for each one as part of your pre-writing, and maybe think about having a body paragraph on each element of fiction. Do you have to look at every element of fiction in this essay? No. But I suggest that you start with at least 3, right? Because you're going to want to have at least 3 body paragraphs, because you want to make this essay 4 pages. So that being said, I think the examples in the book are extremely clear. And when we get to page 36 and they discuss the idea of reading critically, they're a little bit more specific about the ideas of inferences, right? This notion of what is explicit, what is clearly stated, what is a fact, versus what is implicit, what is implied. So fiction is implicit, right? But when you write about it, you want to be explicit, okay? So keep in mind the idea that a lot of things affect your world views. On page 36, I'm going to read you this sentence. Reading is the making of meaning, and the meaning we make depends on who we are. Our sex, age, ethnicity, culture, experience, our worldview all create the context for our reading. Given the multiple interpretations possible, there is not a single right answer, but only well supported inferences that add up to a logical interpretation. But only, I'm on page 36. This is what every time you write about literature, only well supported inferences. There's no single right answer, there's no hidden meaning, as the myth of hidden meaning in this book declares, reading and writing about literature. I'll read the sentence one more time. Given the multiple interpretations possible, I'm on the bottom of 36. There is not a single right answer, but only well supported inferences that add up to a logical interpretation. That's what you're going to do for 2F. You're going to make well supported inferences by including facts, examples, and details through the story that will help you make a logical interpretation. So go through the story of an hour, one sentence at a time. It's only 2 pages. And ask yourself, does this fact, does this example, does this word or group of words, right, reflect plot, reflect character, reflect setting, reflect symbolism, reflect style, right, reflect a theme? Again, these are those elements of fiction on pages 76 to 79 in this book that you want to focus on. And we're going to use them throughout the semester whenever we write about fiction. So, just as the story of an hour, right, the title clues you into the purpose. In some ways, it is literally a story of an hour in her life, but it could be understatement, right? Is it just an hour, or is it, right? Understatement is when you say less than what you mean for emphasis, right? Hyperbole is the opposite. Hyperbole is excessive exaggeration, right? So if the title was The Story of the Most Important Hour of Her Life Ever, then it would be hyperbole. If, right, there's, oh, it's just the story of an hour, I think it could be understatement. I think Chopin is trying to understate how important this hour is. Now, could it be a pun, a play on words? H-O-U-R, O-U-R. Homonyms are words that sound the same but mean different things. And when you play on those words, it's called a pun, right? So is it a story of an hour, H-O-U-R, literally an hour in her life, but is it also the story of an O-U-R, an hour? When we say hour blank, we think of a relationship, meaning one or more people. Is it the story of our, meaning Mrs. Mallard's relationship? Maybe. Maybe it's a play on words. I don't know. There's no right answer. There's no hidden meaning where at the end Chopin's going to say, I used understatement for a reason. I used a play on words, a pun, for a reason. We can only support our inferences with facts. And the facts that we get come from the story and the quotes and the analysis. So looking forward to continuing moving forward with our analysis of the story of an hour after I get a chance to look at everybody's 2Fs and your discussion responses. Now, the next short story that starts on page 39, Hostess, also, I feel, uses understatement in the title. Remember, when you read a story, a poem, right? When you read the lyrics to a song or you listen to a song, right? A novel, a play, it's different because they're long, so there's a lot going on. But usually with songs, with poems, with short stories, the title should clue you into the purpose, and the first words and the last words should work together to effectively communicate the purpose, the claim, right? What is it that they're informing you of and why? So she's informing us in the story of an hour in her life, but I think it's understatement. I think it's more than just an hour. I think it's the most important hour in Mrs. Mallard's life. In Hostess, right, the story is titled simply Hostess, right? And when you think of a hostess, it's quite simple. a person that hosts a gathering. And a host's responsibility, literally, is to take care of the guests. And she does a great job in this, right? Um, the setting of the story is important, where it takes place. I think you could look at the milieu, the socioeconomic, the social, the economic, the political context of it taking part in a trailer park. Um, the language is very informal and conversational from a style standpoint. It almost feels like you're there at the party. The way the narrator describes things. She's a caretaker. Um, she's a psychologist in some ways. She's a server, right? She's really the epitome of what a good hostess of a party should be. Now, obviously, you expect the hostess of a party to entertain and to host the guests that are invited. But think about the ending, right? A woman calls on the phone, and remember, think about milieu, think about the cultural context at the time. Most of you don't have a house phone, right? And most of you uh, might not have grew up in a house that had an answering machine or a landline, right? So back when pre-cell phone days, if you didn't have an answering machine, the phone just kept ringing, and you could either pick it up to get it to stop ringing or turn it off, turn the ringer off. Um, so a lot of times, and like I said, I'm older, so when I grew up, there were times at dinner where my mom would pick up the phone and she wouldn't even listen to who it was. She'd say, "We're eating. Call back in an hour," and just hang up to get it to stop ringing. So a lot of times when people called a wrong number, again, this is pre-caller ID days, you just kind of hang up. It wasn't, common for people when you call the wrong number to start having a conversation with the person, not to mention a difficult conversation. So I think the whole point is that she's not just a hostess for the guests that she invites to the party. She's even a hostess to someone who shows up uninvited via the telephone call. She doesn't hang up the phone because the person on the other end needs to talk, needs to be heard, needs to express, needs a friend, just needs someone. Isn't that about life? Sometimes somebody needs you, whether it's to listen or to do something with them or to help them, right? It might not be the best time for you. But isn't that what life is all about? Is trying our best to help each other? And I think she's the consummate hostess in that she doesn't just take care of the people that are at the party. She takes care of the person that calls, that shows up uninvited. And she's there for her as another human being to listen and to offer support. And that's what we need in life sometimes. So I think this story, it's not just about plot of a party where some wrong number calls and she has to deal with it. It's about bigger stuff. It's about being there for human beings when they need us, not just the people that we're friends with, the people that we invite over. But sometimes you got to be there for a random person who just needs another human being's support. So I think it's a really beautiful story, and it's about more than just being a hostess at a party. It's about bigger picture, how to deal with life and interacting with other human beings when they need you, whether you know them or not. So hopefully you're feeling confident about making inferences, excuse me, and the facts from the story. I just went through lots of different facts to support my inference about my analysis of the story Hostess. You could go through it specifically paragraph by paragraph and analyze all the things that she does, the facts, the examples, the description to prove that she's a good hostess for the people she invites, for her friends that are there. Bigger picture, though, the ending shows she cares about people that she doesn't even know. She's a true human being, a true good example of a human being, of a hostess for someone that showed up uninvited. So, metaphorically, of course, because she doesn't show up to the party, it's a phone call. Anyway, Hopefully, you're feeling confident about analyzing fiction by using facts, details, and examples to support your inferences. Thank you for your patience. Let me know if you have any questions as we're moving forward with this assignment. And stay tuned for the next video reading review.